Hey, y'all need a break. Listen to these stories from r/AmITheA-hole. Am I the a-hole for my sister ending her pregnancy and possibly her marriage? I, male 32, have two older brothers, male 38 and male 40, and a sister, female 34. Note the age differences. Our dad passed away 5 years ago in our hometown, a more suburban town in Wisconsin. Our family was relatively modest when my brothers grew up, so they were cared for a lot by my parents' families who are very conservative. My dad personally was not. By the time me and my sister were born, our dad's career was doing great and we were well off. Me and my sister have masters while our brothers didn't go to college despite the funds and chances. My mom had been trying to set my sister up with a churchgoer's kid. This didn't progress until around the time my dad died and my sister came back and helped with the funeral. My brothers' families are both in town as well. I worked in tech in China then and live in San Francisco now, and since the funeral have been mostly low contact with everyone except my sister. Honestly, I was very close with my dad and there was obvious favoritism towards me which the others didn't like. So, my mom and oldest brother now technically live in my house. My sister somehow ended up leaving her career and moving back. She married the man my mom set her up with in 2019. I honestly was in shock at the wedding. I really didn't ever see my sister living on a farm and becoming a stay-at-home mom. I knew for a fact my mom and brothers had a huge part in this, because there were a lot of "she's back home" posts. Later I found out that she had pretty much given all her savings to her husband. Late 2020, my sister, straight out of the blue, started calling me and just chatting about things. I of course, love this. Early in 2021, my mom told me she was pregnant. I immediately asked my sister about this and she kinda broke down. In short, the husband has been abusive, she's broken my family and her in-laws haven't helped. My oldest brother wailed at her about how his wife went through the same thing and my sister should stop thinking she's special. The first time she called me, he had kicked her out of their home for complaining about their finances. This was fairly common. This is where I am the a-hole. I basically yelled at her too. I told her that she had a career which she can still go back to and I can help her move back to New York City, where she worked/studied before. And that the pregnancy wasn't the end of it and there were other options. The next day she asked me for $5,000, which I sent to her without asking. I didn't hear much after and didn't intrude cause it was a total mind F. A month later, my sister told me she had gotten a new job in New York City and filed for divorce. The pregnancy is also no longer on the table. Now my family has been blowing up my social media calling me all sorts of crap. I've in general called them crap back as well, and the home might be on the market soon. My sister needed to switch apartments and got a restraining order against her ex and well, things aren't great, but I'm happy my sister is better. So am I the a-hole? Edit. I messed up a date and fixed some grammar. Edit. Wow, I just woke up and did not expect a response like this. Thank you everyone, this helps a lot. I saw a couple of posts mentioned they had been in the same predicament as my sister and I'd really like to say that you aren't alone. Please reach out to those you have ever been close to. You're not the a-hole for helping your sister get out of an abusive relationship. You probably saved her life, especially since he is now stalking her in New York City. She's gotten help from friends at this point who all seemed very happy to have her back. We're not super worried about it and the restraining order will help. I really hope she doesn't buckle under pressure. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she would have been a terrible mother? I, 17 male, have two sisters, Alice, 29, and Miranda, 33. I am much closer to Alice than I am to Miranda. Miranda is also not on good terms with our parents. Alice has 4 kids and is currently expecting child number 5, while Miranda can't have children which her ex divorced her for. Miranda is very successful in life, she has a nice apartment, works a good job and earns a decent amount of money. Alice, on the other hand, is struggling financially. She had her first kid right out of high school and got pregnant with her second child soon after, so she decided to become a stay-at-home mom to her children while her boyfriend provides for them. Me and my parents try to help them out as much as possible, be it childcare or money, whatever she needs. I love my nieces and nephews. I take them to the park and play with the older ones, I really enjoy it. Miranda doesn't help out with them, she says it's because she's too busy. Well, she works long hours, but she doesn't have kids, so I don't know what she does on weekends. She also doesn't help out financially, which I find unfair, since she makes so much money and all she does is spend it on herself, although she does give us very nice gifts for Christmas and birthdays. My parents nag her about it, saying she should give some of her money to Alice monthly, and I agree with that. So, here comes the part where I may have been an a-hole. I was at Miranda's place last week, as she baked muffins and invited me over to eat some and catch up. We got on the topic of Christmas presents and I told her some of the stuff I wanted. She nodded and said she would give our parents a coupon for a much-needed vacation, and Alice some clothes she had mentioned, and also some new boots and jackets for her kids. I was a little stunned she didn't have more for Alice, so I asked, "Why do you only get Alice the bare minimum? You can afford to help out more and you refuse to out of spite." Miranda looked at me and laughed. She said it wasn't her business to feed 6 people, that Alice was old enough to make her choices and live with the consequences. She knew what she was getting herself into, and that she wouldn't pay Alice's way through life, just because she kept having children she couldn't afford. I was stunned at how cold she reacted. I asked her how she could live her life being so selfish and uncaring, and she got angry and told me, "Listen kid, there are some things you are way too young for to be discussing with me, and this is one of those. Drop the subject or get out." I got really frustrated with her and said something I probably shouldn't have. I told her, "No wonder your husband divorced you. Even if you could have children, you would be a terrible mother." Miranda got very quiet and told me to leave and never come back. She has now blocked me on everything, and though I don't agree with her not helping out, I'm starting to feel guilty for what I said. So, am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You went way too far with that comment. Shame on you. And Miranda is completely right. It's her money that she earned. She has absolutely no obligation to give her money away if she doesn't want to. You and your family expecting Miranda to give her money to her sister that can't afford her lifestyle is greedy. Yes, your sister Alice kept having kids, it was her choice to keep having them. No one owes your sister anything because of the choices she made, especially her sister. Am I the a-hole for outing my ex as gay to get his mother off my back? It's a long and sucky story, but my 25 female, soon-to-be ex, 28 male, is gay and hid that from me. I found out because I caught him cheating, and he as much as admitted that he knew he wasn't attracted to me that way, but he wanted kids and a normal life. I don't care that he's gay, but I will never forgive him for leading me on so he could use me to have kids, so it's over, end of story. The problem is that his family are fundamentalist nut jobs, except for a few members, and his mother is the interfering mother-in-law from hell. Not being related to her anymore is another plus to leaving. His family doesn't believe in divorce, so under the guise of picking up some paperwork and other items I had found that were my ex's, she cornered me about how I'm being childish and marriage is about commitment, forgiveness, and working through problems, etc. It became apparent that my ex didn't tell his family that he cheated. He told his mom that I was divorcing him because we weren't having sex often enough for me. I tried to be patient and explain that he had cheated and that's why. I wasn't going to go into greater detail because I know how his parents are and it's none of their business. Mother-in-law's advice, I kid you not, was that men are just that way, and if I wanted to have sex more, and for him not to stray, that I should make myself more attractive to my husband and be a better wife. I lost the plot completely. It had been a sad and hard day already and that was the last straw. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I told her that the only thing that would make me more attractive to my ex would be a sex change operation, and that I hoped he and his boyfriend adopted her some grandchildren so she could finally shut the hell up about it. Not my finest moment, but she just hit the worst and rawest nerve she could have and I exploded. It's evidently turned into a huge family drama. He's probably going to be disowned, and my ex called sobbing that I've ruined his life out of spite. I don't really know how to feel about it. I do feel bad for him that his parents are such awful people and there were just no good outcomes for him, but I also feel like he made his own bed here too. Edit. A couple things from comments. There is almost no chance of violence. His family are fundies but not violent ones. They're more of the Mormon shunning type. One of his cousin came out and left the church, and after the initial protests, they all just stopped talking to him and basically treated him as if he were dead until he was ready to repent or whatever. They're passive-aggressive, repressed, and weird as all get out, but the chances of anyone physically hurting him are extremely low. He's not financially dependent on them and has a more than decent job, so he can support himself easily if they kick him out. He's known he was gay since before he met me, so this wasn't a new discovery or admission to himself. He has a boyfriend that he's been dating since 6 months before we were married. I went through his computer after catching them in the act and kicking him out and found messenger logs and other evidence going back to before he started dating me. He literally set this up so he could have the nice Mormon family on the surface to keep his family happy. That's it. He never loved me at all. I was just the first girl to express a sustained interest. Probably unpopular opinion but not the a-hole. You got pushed into a corner and blamed for the demise of the relationship, which was ultimately because of his dishonesty. You didn't do it maliciously. Also, he wasted years of your life for selfish reasons and I personally could never forgive that. Edit. OP was being constantly harassed, blamed and basically defamed because her ex blamed her for everything. It wasn't malicious to out him and he should have taken more accountability for his role in all this. Edit 2. The fact he plainly stated he only married her to have a kid is beyond disturbing and automatically makes him the a-hole, no questions asked. You do not dehumanize a person and treat them as a breeding animal for your own purposes because of your hidden sexuality. Inexcusable. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister and brother-in-law to move out, after 3 years of supporting them after family tragedy? About 3 years ago, my sister and her husband lost their 3 young children in a really bad car accident. My sister barely survived but pulled through. They had 2 daughters who were 8 and 6 and a 3-year-old son. I won't go into specifics surrounding the accident or their deaths because it's quite frankly horrific. My sister and I are 10 months apart and have always been extremely close. At the time of my nieces' and nephews' deaths, I was living alone in a 3-bedroom home and offered for them to live with me. They were both, understandably, too unable to function to go back to work, and we all needed each other. I didn't want them to have to worry about money or losing their home after what had happened. I've supported them emotionally and financially pretty much ever since it happened. They both refused to go to therapy, and still both aren't working. I have a good job, but it's not an easily manageable thing, and I really didn't expect it to go on so long. About a year and a half ago, I met my current fiancé. We clicked immediately and got engaged 6 months later. We're due to get married next October. I've been trying to drop hints to my sister about wanting my house back to myself to live in with my fiancé, but she's not picked up on it. My fiancé has grown increasingly frustrated with me, saying I'm very obviously being taken advantage of. Last weekend, I straight up told my sister I needed to talk to her, and told her that I wanted my house back and to live with my partner alone before getting married and starting to have children. She got upset and went running to our mom, who called me an a-hole for not considering how my sister would feel about that. It hasn't been mentioned since, but both my sister and brother-in-law are hardly talking to me. Am I the a-hole? Update: thank you all for the comments and messages I've received over the last day, they've really been appreciated. I had a talk with my sister last night and it began the usual way, with her avoiding the situation. I told her if she left and wasn't able to have an adult conversation, I'd be forced to either take legal action or sell the house, both empty threats, but it worked. She broke down, told me she knew she needed help but didn't want to accept it, and that she'd be willing to go even if her husband doesn't. I haven't talked to her much about leaving, but her admitting she needs help is a huge step, so I'm not going to push for more just yet. Thank you for all your help. Not the a-hole. 3 years is long enough. If they still aren't ready to go out on their own, your mother can take them in. Not the a-hole. What are their plans for the future besides to mooch off of you? It's been 3 years. It's completely fair for you to ask them what their plans are. Yes, they went through something horrible, but you have been incredibly accommodating and have given them lots of time to heal. Giving you silent treatment in your own home is unacceptable. Am I the a-hole for being really honest with my manager in front of her boss? So, I have been a stay-at-home mom for several years. I worked very hard on our budget, shopping, meal prep, etc., and we were okay. We recently became empty nesters. The last one moved out, pays her own bills, got a scholarship, etc. I was bored, so I decided to take one of the many grocery store jobs available at the store across the street. My intent was part-time, but they quickly moved me to a different, full-time position, which I do like and am good at, and it pays, quote, a bit more. The store is short-staffed and I have been doing my best to help, but recently my manager sat me down with her boss, witness, to have a documented discussion about how I am not a team player, because I won't help other departments even though I am struggling to get my own stuff done, because my position should have 3 people but it's just me. They wanted me to sign a paper acknowledging that my behavior was unacceptable. I told my manager, you need me, I don't need you. In my previous position in management, I learned it will cost your store an average of $10,000 to hire and train a replacement. I also know you have a walk-in interviews welcome sign outside every day and you all are stressing about how short-staffed you are and have limited applications. So no, I won't sign this, feel free to fire me. There are 10 stores within a mile that are also offering walk-in interviews. So, no, I won't sign this. You can accept that, or replace me, and I really don't care if you mark me as not eligible for rehire. I'll just leave you off my resume and do just fine. Still have a job 3 days later and everyone is acting like nothing happened, but some people are saying I am being the a-hole, because the management is also struggling because they are short-staffed. Management is struggling. And that's their problem. Their struggles with doing their job are not your problems to solve. Your problem is to do what you were hired to do, and collect your paycheck. Do you think management would care if you were struggling? What would they do if you were? I can tell you. They would fire you. Not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother and sister-in-law, you got your big day, now you have to deal with the consequences? My 29 female brother, 31 male, and his wife, 34 female, got married 2 months ago. They had a destination wedding. Unfortunately, none of our side expect a cousin could attend due to multiple valid reasons, which I list a short few. Grandparents, 95 female, 98 female, 89 male. Too old. Our parents, mom has breast cancer and my dad takes full care of her. Me and our youngest brother's girlfriend, heavily pregnant / newborn. Our older brother and aunt, busy doctors who have to be extra careful. Everyone else either couldn't afford it or couldn't afford to take 2 weeks off. We tried to explain to them the situation months before the wedding, but we're hit with our wedding, our rules. Don't like it, don't come. We asked to be able to help in any way we could, but a few weeks before the wedding, their attitudes changed. We were told they'd prefer to go low contact because we weren't coming to the wedding, which meant we didn't support their marriage. I even begged to pay for the bridesmaids' dresses, but my brother told me he didn't want my money, he wanted me at his day. I tried to explain to him, his wedding was 4 days before my due date. He ended up screaming at me, calling me a spoiled entitled brat, then blocking me. They did similar stuff with everyone else. They even went as far getting my extremely sick mother upset, to the point my father stopped talking to my brother. So on to the situation. After months of passive-aggressive posts on social media and bride/groomzilla tantrums, they wanted to make up with everyone due to my mother finding out extremely heartbreaking news. 6 months left. We all ended up having dinner at my family home tonight, with everyone being extremely cold to my brother and his wife. No one really cared to listen to about their wedding, nor looked at their photos. My brother ended up getting us, siblings, alone to ask us why we were being dicks. My youngest brother told him tonight wasn't the time, then walked out. Oldest said when mom died, he would never speak to him again, but due to the fact I'm his only sister, he seemed more mad/upset at me. I told them, you got your big day, now you have to deal with the consequences. My brother and sister-in-law got extremely upset, then left. My mother asked what happened, but we told her he had the runs, diarrhea, and needed to leave. My brother sent me a heartbreaking email afterwards on how he felt so rejected that we weren't at his wedding, nor apologized afterwards. Sorry for my bad grammar, but with the news of my mom and having a newborn, plus the situation with my brother, my mind is like a noodle right now. Not the a-hole. Your brother and his wife obviously had grand visions for their wedding and seemed to be entirely tone deaf about the viability of those visions. That's not your fault or issue. They seem pretty immature. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.